Hi guys, my name is Alex, and
My name is Ivan.
thanks for watching. We're gonna be talking about the very, very amazing episode 10, season 7 of Star Wars Clone Wars.
Yes.
And spoiler alert, we're gonna go right into it without
Mhm.
delay. So we're just gonna do it right now.
The episode is
Alright.
called Phantom Apprentice. I like how it starts with like an eerie sound with the music and it gets you in with Ahsoka right away when she's defending herself, waiting for Maul because she's been cornered, right?
Mhm.
I was really surprised with the pacing of this episode because it was great. They focused so much on the dialogue. No nonsense like side plots or anything, like straight to it. Maul speaking his mind. He was kind of depressed because he knew what was coming and he knew like there was nothing he could do, only if he can get like Anakin on his side. That's who he was expecting, but Ahsoka almost on his side.
So cool. Yeah.
But you can feel that dread from him right away, just with the dialogue as soon as it starts. And I liked how he just walks in, like when she's cornered, and she's just waiting there on the defense mode. But he just walks by with his hands behind his back, right? And he's just talking, and that he needs information. That's really what he's there for.
He's basically starting now the journey to transition into the Star Wars Rebels. And they're there's like, if you were to make the perfect way to transition different universes for Star Wars, because you got the Clone Wars, you got the Rebels, you got A New Hope that starts off everything, really.
Yes.
And then you've got the previous the prequel trilogy and all that stuff. You really wanted to bring it together. This was such a great way to bring it together, or start the wheels turning.
Oh yes.
Because these are the characters that were kind of like the behind the scene characters in A New Hope. Like, without Ahsoka, the rebellion wouldn't have had the kind of like progress they would have made. All that stuff that has happened in Rebels, like, thanks to her reuniting with anyways, that's a completely different show. But also the part that Darth Maul plays as an outsider, and as Ahsoka as an outsider of the Jedi Order, and them doing something as Force wielders, but not as Sith, not as Jedi. They're just people who are understanding of this like relationship with the Force. It's such a cool way to come from that place and then continue on the story and explain what's gonna happen in like the transition from here to basically episode 3.
Yes.
The ending of episode 3.
Oh yeah, we were already
my
inside
gosh.
episode 3. That was the craziest thing. But
oh man,
I guess let's go from that spot where Maul starts telling all those things, and you're like, okay, we're getting close to the end. I mean, the end would be Order 66. Maul's saying like, oh, Darth Sidious is behind everything. And they try to get Ahsoka, but she escapes. Well, he escapes. She goes after him unsuccessfully. But then is when we get the biggest reveal with Obi-Wan, when they do that Skype chat through the hologram.
Yeah, I know. Oops. Oh, wow. Skype is old.
I know.
They've been using it for a galaxy far, far away.
But I love
Even
that when
way before.
it just came out of nowhere. I did not expect him to just say, oh yes, Anakin just killed Count Dooku, and we can't get any more information about Darth Sidious, so you better go after Maul because we have no other leads. We just know there's a big conspiracy. The Jedi know about it, but they haven't cracked the code yet. There's something missing in the puzzle. And I love how he just puts it out there. I did not expect it at all. It was great.
Yeah.
Such a good moment.
I think what is such a, like, this is the episode that didn't, okay, so it's not lacking action, and it's not lacking characters, developments,
Yeah.
and it's not lacking the transition from one story arc to the next story arc.
It's because
They're
everything ties together.
combining it
Everything
all
added
together.
something to it.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
wasn't like, oh, I'm
Mhm.
not sure where that plot points end up, like in the future, right? Everything had like a purpose, very specific.
And the two things that stuck to me was like, okay, great, because in one of the older Clone War episodes where Yoda, in like the Yoda Chronicles or the Lost episodes, right? That's where Yoda started to have a he went to the outskirts of the Outer Rim, where he met up with like these Force
Yeah.
icons, those 5 characters, those 5
The
icons,
one with the different faces, right? Yeah.
And then it took him to this vision with Darth Sidious trying to manipulate Yoda, right? And then Yoda comes out of it victorious. So he was the first Jedi in the Order to come out of it still on the side of the good, still in the Jedi's side, right? And nobody else seems to have like this idea of like, okay, maybe we need to take a step back from our responsibilities in the war as generals, as like war commanders. This is him. He went out of his way to really go back to a relationship with the Force. And then in the instance where Obi-Wan talked to Ahsoka saying like, the Jedis are a little flawed sometimes. They're not actually perfect.
I thought about you in our last conversation because I was like, oh, finally you're being more like human,
Yeah.
To Obi-Wan.
So not only, so now it kind of made me think about him deserting and his introduction in A New Hope, Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope.
Yes, because he's realizing the big consequences of neglecting certain things and not pursuing things that happened with the clones in like the past seasons about those suspicions of the Order 66 and all that they but continue.
So like the relationship that he has with Anakin and the relationship Anakin had with Ahsoka, all of those relationships that kind of like create these curious questions about the rules, the regulations, and the standards of the Jedi Order. And them kind of like playing around with like at the rim of it.
Okay. Yes.
Obi-Wan was the one that always goes back to the Order.
Yes, always.
This is the first time he's actually admitting, you know what?
We don't get it every time.
and at that moment, right? In my mind, what came up was the love of his life died in front of him. He didn't go and pursue the love of his life.
Yes, that's
Darth
true.
Maul murdered her in front of him. Not only that, so he made decisions in the army that he could have brought more like soldiers into to Mandalore, but decided to follow the orders, like command. It's probably the smartest idea because I mean, Darth Sidious had the plan to like get General Grievous to attack Coruscant. So like. They probably needed the army there. But like this transition of everybody kind of waking up from it and all of it being a part of Darth Sidious's plan and it's all coming together. Them realizing doesn't matter anymore. It's too late. It's part of the plan.
They have the same dread as Maul. They're like, we just feel like there's just no end to this and no way back. And we have to do whatever it takes now, but it's too late.
Yeah, and I love. I mean, is there any? You can talk. You can. I don't know. If you had anything
in terms of
else.
Obi-Wan, I also like that other thing he said about that he was gonna go to get General Grievous. So we know that happens just before then, in the Revenge of the Sith as well. So it's like, oh, okay. They give you those 2 points so you know exactly where they are, and I'm sure that's gonna play out in the next episode. We'll probably get a few more hints of exactly what's happening because Anakin at this point, he's been told by the council to spy on the Chancellor, right? And even him, like I feel he's just out of reach now for Ahsoka, because there's been many times where they speak to Ahsoka and she remembers when she left the Order and when he was like, why are you abandoning me, you know? So that feeling of abandonment, I'm sure she has it in her, and the consequences come later, but now she believes in him, but still that had like a rippling effect on on Anakin and what's gonna happen. And it's just brutal, but it did
I love that.
A ripple
effect. I love that dialogue. Yeah, that dialogue of everything coming together, of him separating. Because just the hint of him being undercover, in episode 3, he was already losing it. Because in episode 3, right, he's got Padme pregnant.
Oh God, he's been
and
so far
and he's having,
from like the Jedi ways.
And he's having visions of her dying. So he already has like his emotions distracting his responsibility.
Completely.
Finds out that potentially Palpatine is freaking like Sith Lord.
I know.
And now has to be like the one responsible for his like capture, right? And like while all of this is happening to him, like it all being a part of the plan, and the dialogue of it being the same.
Sad that Ahsoka can't like reach out and like doesn't have a moment to bring him back in, like for real, you know.
Well, I was about to say, like, it's actually the same kind of dialogue that Anakin's son has. Luke Skywalker says, "I know there's some good in him. I know there's some good in him." Ahsoka is saying the same thing when Darth Maul told her the name in his vision, Skywalker, and like that he's gonna be the one to fulfill the Dark Lord's like vengeance. She's like, I don't believe you. No, that's not true. That's not possible. I know there's some good in him. And then
she knows him very well, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And in Rebels, Star Wars Rebels, when they like Darth Vader and Ahsoka confront each other. Inception spoilers if you haven't watched Rebels. They're gonna find each other. Like they're like this. There's this thing about Skywalker. They're bringing it back.
Yeah.
Right now, it's not like the camera is not on Skywalker. It's like putting it's like we're patching all the unanswered things, and also like back then, I think there's like before it was canon, right? I think Ahsoka was supposed to be like this, like unofficially in the Star Wars like mythos that Ahsoka was he had an apprentice. Anakin Skywalker had an apprentice, but the movies didn't make it official.
Oh,
right?
Okay, yeah.
So,
you're right.
So this is not only just tying the things that used to be canon, but not anymore, thanks to Disney. But they're bringing it back. Ahsoka is the apprentice, and then not only that, but destroyed that relationship, right? That relationship's gonna be gone.
Yes.
And so many things are being put in that thing, and it's all like the same language. Anakin, there's some good in him, and it's still part of the plan that he's gonna not follow that good.
That's why it's painful. But that's why that scene when she confronts Maul for the second time, like you get the feels. Because you're like, I want to believe you. I know there's something good there, but
I love this. I love it because
happen.
There's just so much character. Like, they took their time. They took their time to have the dialogue really explain what's going on, to tie it to that, like, okay, Darth Maul's got this thing weighing him down, and I love I agree. Basically, I'm just agreeing with what you said earlier, that like, they're basically wasting no time, and they're not distracting us from anything else. Like, this is the point. This is the point.
Get
And it did it so well.
And it was great because it was the same. It was beautiful. And now that I think about that moment when Ahsoka is defending Anakin, she's like, no, he's good, and he would never do that. It's like you feel, it's like almost you're feeling that moment through Darth Maul's perspective, because he is the one who knows. He's like enlightened, kind of, right? He actually knows that the inevitability of this situation. So you're seeing it from his perspective. You're like, this feels dreadful, but you still want her to succeed because you want.
Well, yeah. Also, isn't that such a mind bending thing? I think on top of that, right? Like, we're seeing it from his perspective because we know he's right.
Yes, you want her to join him.
He's not, but he's also not good.
That as well. So you don't know what he would
also,
do.
Yeah. So he's right. We know he's right.
Yes.
He's not actually a good person. He's messed up. Like, he's mentally, like, there's something that he's certain. He's rooted to revenge. He's rooted to just like coming from a dark place. But he's reacting to, shoot, I am not part of the Dark Lord's plan. I'm gonna be, if I don't do something and get out of this now, right?
He's in survival
mode.
But on
top, and then on top of that knowledge that he's right, he's evil, and Ahsoka was also betrayed, and she should know better.
Yeah.
She should know better than to feel the way she feels about Anakin.
Yes.
But then there's this thing that tethers her to him. She was supported by Anakin. How can Anakin betray? How can he betray? Well, not just the years, but like her being accused of like creating this conspiracy against the Jedi Order and all that stuff, blowing up the temple and stuff like that. Like, Anakin was the only one, not even Obi-Wan, and now Obi-Wan is trusting her. And now
it's good to see that. It's really nice to see that Obi-Wan is like, well, it's almost like they are usually discussing things together, but since Anakin is not there, it's nice to see that he's like, well, if Anakin puts his trust in you, I will as well. That's I think that's what like he portrayed there in that scene.
Yeah, I think last time we talked about also how she's no longer has this way about her that's like an apprentice. She is her own force-wielding warrior. She is her own. She is her own when she was like preparing and like looking at Darth Maul. She wasn't this helpless Padawan anymore. She was able to stand her ground emotionally in front of Anakin when they met for the first time in so long. Like, she was her own. And now Obi-Wan's treating her the same way. Not just Anakin. It's like, oh man.
It's beautiful.
And good gosh. Can we talk about the fight scene?
Yes. I think we should definitely give a shout out to, because of course I've never seen a scene that good in animation, and I researched, and they did motion capture.
It's motion capture. Oh yeah, it was super obvious. It was super obvious that they were.
You can see like the weight, like right on the legs, and like the movement is beautiful.
And like I love that. For me, okay. I don't know why.
But
I
have to just mention their names. Lauren Mary Kim is a woman who did the motion capture.
The stunts,
Ahsoka, yes, and Ray Park for Maul, which he's the one who did the one originally in the first movie, the
absolutely.
Phantom Apprentice, right?
When Darth Maul did that, opened his lightsaber as an homage. Every single. If you wanted to do, an episode / movie to bring an entire universe back together. Oh my gosh, this is the epitome of it. Like, good gravy. Like, beautiful. It's an homage. It's not a cliche. This is how he introduced himself to Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn. This is him bringing himself into the galaxy.
Puts it in front there,
like
it's
the
like,
universe. I just went and I was
And just
making a lot of
seconds
noises.
before, I loved how they set up that fight, because you remember when the window shattered from like all the explosions and everything outside, and like the sparks came in. It was like slow motion. She was like thinking really like the decision if she wanted to join him or not. Like that moment was beautiful. It was like a silence before the storm of like, oh, okay, now it's gonna go down.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it even feels more exciting, because they have that silence and you understand why what they're thinking. It's not just like random. Like, you know what's going through their heads. She's trying to see if she should work with him or not, and he's trying to just survive.
Yeah.
But as soon as it starts, it's incredible. Just the movements, the choreography is beautiful.
I love that right away. Anyone could tell it was a different kind of animation, and that it complemented the cartoon show.
Oh, perfect.
It didn't push away. It didn't distract from the animation. They absolutely made it part of the way it was meant to fight. They didn't do any extravagant jumping up. They didn't do any force wielding. This was like genuine fight. And I love I just like before they started fighting, right? I love that moment. Just like for, I guess, more like out of philosophy, out of like ideals sake, these two people are outside of the law. They're off the grid when it comes to like their relationship with the religions that they followed.
Yeah.
And they're outside of
You're right. Yeah.
the chaos that this, like the craziness of the war and all of the bureaucracy that leads up to like just a lot of massacre, a lot of blood, a lot of death. They took some moments. It was just like a great symbolism of like, if you step back from your religion, if you step back from maybe the bureaucracy, the rules of it all, and just thought as a human being, as a person with feeling and thought, and like really assessed what's going on.
Yeah,
the chaos in the background is like it's not as important. What's important is the truth of the entire thing.
You're right. They were both fighting for their own truth.
Yeah. And her figuring out what is the truth. And then the fact that she said, I will help you. I was like, what?
I know.
I was great job that you said, yeah.
I was like,
because that's...
Yes. But I was like, so what are the consequences now? And then when they talked about Anakin, I was like, because she had to defend Anakin all the way.
And that's the thing, right? Neither of them were right. Neither of them were wrong. Such a really weird relationship, because it's like Darth Maul was doing it out of fear. Ahsoka was doing it out of love.
Yes.
She refused to side with him, even though she knows that there was actually a way to destroy Darth Sidious if she followed him. But that would sacrifice... A possible
way, but it would be...
possible, yeah.
Because she said, but you... I think a bit later in the fight, but she's like, well, but you're still like a Sith, or you're still evil, right? You're going to take his place, eventually.
Exactly, yeah. Only to take his place, exactly.
So you
and then she realized
really knew,
that, of course.
Right?
Yeah. And then him refusing to just let go. Right. Oh man, so much struggle in that moment where they were just in that silence. Like that silence spoke so much.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, and the clones just like fighting outside with the Mandalorians.
Yeah.
That was also great, but I'm glad it didn't take too much of the time in the episode. It was just like, this is happening outside. And I love when they were in that scene before they started fighting, and they were talking, and they could hear like the rumble of like the explosions outside, right? And
another homage to Return
chaos.
of the Jedi. Well, yeah, Return of the Jedi, where like Luke and Darth Sidious was watching the outer space fight.
The battle,
Ow! Ow! So many!
Nice.
Ow! That's how you do things,
That's
not
how you
cheesy.
do Star Wars. Yes,
That's how you do Star Wars. And
was
like
great.
before I want to get into like Captain Rex, but before that I just want to get into that fact that I don't think, like, maybe it's a phenomenon only in Star Wars, because they've done so many different like projects around this galaxy where we're introduced to it at this turn of the tide from the dark side conquering the entire galaxy, going into the light, from episode 4 to 6.
Yes.
Right? Then we went to the past of it, and before that they created canon, like stories about the universe with other force wielders inside, not necessarily Jedis or Dark Lords, right? Introducing like the rules of the Sith, like the rule of two and all that stuff outside of the movies. Then the prequels happened, then the cartoons, like there was the 2D cartoons that were happening. And Cartoon Network.
So great. Like I wish I could find them online somewhere, because
we
was
probably
the best.
can. Like
That was the
Cartoon
best.
Network was smart to get that, and I think it was underappreciated, maybe.
Yes,
But
I couldn't.
I'm
believe
sure
that they
it's
didn't keep
underrated.
making them, because they're incredible. I love them.
Yeah, they were so cool.
Yes,
Just
thanks for
the art
reminding
of
me,
it.
because I forgot about that.
Oh yeah, it's so
love
good. This is the good stuff.
They're so good.
And then just like, and then on top of all these universes that basically go back and forth to try to put the pieces together from the prequel to episode 4 and 6, right? And then we now have the universe that's like the present time, where you have episode 7 to 9, but we don't have to talk about that stuff.
But this is all great, because it's very interesting how you can find different ways of approaching all the different timelines, right? And it doesn't have to be repetitive, right? It can be very exciting, and just it can last for years to come. So I hope when they keep making all these movies and TV shows, they just keep adding to it and just making it interesting. I really hope.
I love that. I love that this is the Star Wars universe is a canvas where you can practice giving really good homages to other like stories that were told in either cartoon, 2D or 3D, prequel, or the originals, or the future ones, but we don't have to talk about the future ones. God. Like, it's just like, I feel like there's this psychological phenomenon that like only in this universe do we get to practice. Oh yeah, and that's why they said this in this episode, because this episode was like paying homage to what, like, the fact that now Obi-Wan has his hoodie down, he's hiding himself, he's no longer proud to be part of the Jedi Order, he's concealing himself because he can't trust anybody anymore. This is an homage to episode 4.
Yes.
And then Anakin not being there, and him being like outside of contact from the Jedi Order because he's now like just in this conflict, and then Ahsoka just wanting to believe that he's not going to be the reason that the Dark Lord succeeds. Like, these are the languages that Luke Skywalker, it's an homage. The Darth Maul opening his sabers out as an homage. Like,
it's beautiful how it ties together.
So beautiful. And that's how you do it. That's how you freaking do it.
I love how our emotions to all those characters translates perfectly from two mediums, from live action and from animation. The same. Like, I feel the same chills. Like, if they do the good job, I get chills. I get like, oh my god. And I get that feeling that I have to talk to you about it, right? Same thing.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
That's what's great. If they do the characters right, it doesn't matter what medium they do it.
I think also it's just like it's a matter of like also persistence, I guess. People who are willing to back up the universe, people who are willing to create and support the projects so that the universe has like something that connects one project to another project. right? Just
Well,
like talking.
of course,
Yeah.
if it
You know,
goes
like,
too far, then it's just not Star Wars anymore.
yeah. Well, I mean, like, and also, like, I mean, there was a time where it didn't connect, or didn't feel like it connected when we were introduced to Episode 1. It's like,
Oh,
cool
that's
fight
a bit-
scenes, yo, but what the hell? It's like, and then
felt a bit
now,
strange.
now the phenomenon is we accepted that universe, we accepted that introduction, midichlorians and everything, sure. I mean, with some debate, of course, nobody's
Some debate,
gonna be
yes.
agreeing 100% about it, but like, man, everything is coming back together, and like, I think the most important things are the Skywalkers, the Skywalker route to the entire thing, Obi-Wan's relationship to the Jedi Order, and the battle scars that that's gonna hold. Ah,
Yes, Order 66 is
Ah.
coming soon. Do
Ah.
you know how many like days specifically it is? Is it? I'm
No,
sure someone
no,
found
because
that out, or it's not possible to know how many days will pass
I
until.
I
Order
don't know.
66.
It's coming soon because it's almost to Palpatine's arrest, because Anakin didn't really stay too long investigating him, right? Anakin was the one that I think reported that I think Darth Sidious is the Palpatine, like is Palpatine, right? I think he's the one that said it, and then
Yes.
the Jedi Order's like, if your accusations are, which is just showing about how the dark side totally took over. I like why don't you investigate? Like nobody's like, oh my gosh, oh I totally get it. Let's arrest him now because he's freaking crazy. Like,
Right? Yeah.
oh man, it's all coming together. But like, I don't think it was that very. It didn't take too long before Anakin became became Darth Vader. After that, and started massacring the people in the temple. So, my like I have it that it's all gonna come together, and that the timeline in the last two two episodes.
Do you think they're gonna
in
focus
the last
on
two
Anakin
episodes?
in the last two episodes a bit to give even more detail onto his fall in the dark side? Or?
Well, okay, I have a thing because Captain Rex is one of the clones that did not fall under the trap of the Order 66. Like he found out,
Oh, okay, yeah.
right? So like again, big spoiler. Like this is from the other cartoons. Like he survives it, and also a lot of like YouTube channels have already talked about the list of clones that were not affected by the Order 66, because there were people who went away from or decided to once they found out, or just accidentally didn't have that chip. Like there was a malfunction in that genetic chip. There's some people that survived that order and not massacred the Jedis. Like and Rex was one of them.
So
I
think
think
to see what happens.
It's got and you know, like, and that's gonna be again. I wonder what the homage is gonna be to Fives, who told them.
Yes,
dude,
just told them
he died in
that
their
he
arms.
Knew, yeah, he knew.
He knew. He freaking knew.
Out. Yeah,
and like the emotional toll that the clones would have after massacring Jedis. I wonder
also as well, because I'm sure they would remember after they did it. They would be like, "What did I do?" You know, it's like a snap. It's like doing, and then off. Well, it's like, what the hell?
Like so. I'm curious about how they're going to approach it, because they could probably go the. Oh no! Please stay connected. Oh god. Please stay connected. Am I still there? Okay.
Yes,
okay, my thoughts are
still recording.
My thoughts my thoughts are I wish I could just say I can predict this. Like it's so hard to say, because there's the relationships Anakin has that like between the Jedis, not just the like Padme's like the ultimate relationship that he has.
Oh, Padme.
That
my God, we have not seen Padme.
yeah, exactly. Well, the relationship is like kind of just like a given, because this is the Clone Wars. So I'm assuming that all of our assumptions about Padme is just that. Like I don't think
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like maybe they'll bring that up. Maybe they'll bring up Obi-Wan and what he's up to while like he like they're because he got shut down by Commander Cody.
Yeah,
Maybe they're gonna talk about that. I don't know.
it could
Maybe
be.
and
They
I
have a
really
lot to
want
draw
them.
from. Yeah.
Yeah, I really want there to be a final showdown between Ahsoka and Anakin. I really want
I don't
them
think
to
that's gonna
show.
happen.
I would.
Because I think
Okay.
in the last episode when they said goodbye, they lingered a little bit too much on their face. It's almost like this is the last time we'll see each other for a while. Like next time, I'll be a completely different person. I don't know. I got that feeling from that shot when he gave her the lightsabers, and then they say goodbye. I think that was their final goodbye. But
But
it
this
would be
is
very
different.
exciting if they could talk.
This is different.
Mhm.
This is him no longer seeing Ahsoka as a Padawan or a Force wielder. This is Darth Vader looking at Ahsoka.
Oh, you mean that at that point, like after he turns?
Like I don't know how far from his transition of like having all his limbs cut off. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think maybe they're not gonna delve that far. But like I'm thinking because it is the Clone Wars, I think the reactions of how clones react after the orders shut down. I would love to see that.
It seems like it has to be done.
It's got
like,
to.
It has to be addressed because we
Yeah.
all want to see what happens because we've been following them from the beginning. Like in
Yeah,
the Clone
yeah,
Wars, they've been
yeah.
just as important as Anakin and Ahsoka, like the clones. Like how many episodes have been focused on them?
Yeah, and we know there's survivors that we absolutely
Yes.
know. And so like that last piece of transition between like Rex finding that chip, discovering that it exists, pulling it out.
Yeah.
I want to know how that happens. I want to know the relationship between Anakin and Ahsoka. That's why it's so hard to say I predict. I just want these things resolved.
Me too.
That's the emotional thing. And here's the hard part as like an observer of this is we've invested decades of just appreciating it. Either it doesn't like even like just our relationship with Star Wars like in general. It could be passive, it could be exciting, it could be I choose this movie, this cartoon show, whatever. Doesn't matter. Like but I don't want to like I'm too exhausted to predict it now. Like I don't want to say anymore. Like I just want it to be as amazing as episode 10
and 9
and
as well was
episode
great,
9.
but 10 was just
Yeah.
so good. Like because they added things that I didn't know they would. I love how unexpected it was, and I loved
Yeah.
how much it added to the lore. How much of that dread that
Thank
I didn't know
God.
existed in those characters. I was like, that's so refreshing. I love that angle they took on it, right?
Yeah.
Through Darth
Yeah.
Maul, through someone who we wouldn't expect to be. He was even kind of nice to them when he let the clone go. That was Rex, right? Yes.
And him going nuts and being not the same kind of person he was. He's no longer. He was still emotional. So he's like Anakin. He's letting his emotions take over. But it wasn't as like this warrior. It was a guy freaking out, saying, "This is too big for me."
Yes, even him. He was like,
Way too
no, I can't. Just no. I just have to survive.
Yeah.
Oh,
And so
God.
like everybody's kind of just like losing it. And it's like basically this time in that this universe where it's about to restructure the actual roots of how everything is. And just the genius of Darth Sidious, like just how poetic is it that we still never really just forgot he existed, but they never really show him too much. He's never been shown in this season.
You're right.
But we know he's
It's
there.
all the
he's there.
consequences of that actions.
Gosh. Yeah. yeah. I just love that. I think this is the only universe that creates this phenomenon, this psychological phenomenon of like reminiscence, excitement, and just like this motivation to understand the little details about the past, the present, the future, and the in-betweens, the characters in between, the main characters in there. Like, what a great episode.
I know,
Bringing all
fantastic.
this stuff up.
Well, next week we're gonna do another recording because we're gonna be just as excited, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's two more
great.
episodes. I mean, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy that they're ending it, and I'm happy that they're transitioning it. I love the surprise that it's so close. It's so close to the. Oh, sorry. I love that this episode brings us an idea of a timeline, that it's so close to the end or to the beginning of episode 3.
3. Yeah.
Yeah, 3. Revenge of the Sith. Yeah, and like it's around that time in the Clone Wars that the Clone Wars is at, and so good.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a message to everyone to like, subscribe. We're gonna do more videos, so if you liked our commentary, please check it out.
Yeah, yeah.
Other kinds of videos as well. We'll see how this evolves.
For sure. Again, this is like our second time doing this. Thanks for, if you guys have any thoughts or questions, or maybe even just like suggestions on like what things to think about regarding this episode, or like the Star Wars universe in itself, like feel free to keep sharing with us. We love to learn more. Again, we just love it. We're not experts at it. We just, oh man, this season is so amazing. We just had to talk about it. Yeah, yes. I get the feels. So yeah. Okay. Thank you guys so much for listening, if you did listen. And have a great weekend.
See you next week.
May the Force be with you.
Yes.
Ah.